and our final destination will be remaining. That is 9 o'clock, and after 9 o'clock, that's when we shall be having the news bulletin, Lubarati, and after that, we shall be having the Lubaramabi program, because on Fridays, we also already have that cultural connection, and this is for the Lubaras, where they will be having the Lubaramabi with Eric Morris, and thereafter, Islamic Hour also will be following, and Lebangea, of course, will be coming through at midday, and the other programs also subsequently will be following. And that is where I want to take this opportunity now to welcome you on board and say a very, very good morning to you and welcome aboard. Our final destination is 9 o'clock, and my name is Farish Majid. It's a great pleasure having you this morning. Remember, so many stories going to happen, and all that will be unfolded here on the discussions. And you also still can let me know what is happening in your areas by utilizing our comment section, and drop for us what is happening in there, and we shall be able to solely understand what is happening within your areas. And really talking about what continues to happen locally within our areas, there are really issues of theft, and today we have gotten to realize that theft is not only being committed by males. Very sad and absurd that today we also hear stories of ladies stealing just like the men do, and that is really quite absurd and quite unfortunate. That means we need to go back and also revise our community rules and policies of nurturing the girl child. And that is where we need to sort of ensure that the girl child is not involved into such activities. But this is because sometimes today the demand of the girl child is too much. But we are saying all in all, the girls should understand one thing, that their demand shouldn't lead them into bad activities. And that's where we are going to be also really kicking off with our discussions right away. The three also ladies who were arrested for nude protests have been bailed. That is also a story that we are seeing in the papers this morning, where it is saying 3 bailed after nude anti-corruption protests at Parliament. And this is really quite interesting, where the Buganda court magistrate has granted bail at the 3 anti-corruption protesters who staged a nude protest. That's at Parliament. And the trio on Thursday granted bail out of non-cash bond of 1 million Ugandan shillings by the Chief Magistrate, that is Ronald Kaizi, after spending 10 days on remand. Could we say finally justice has been served these young ladies? And that is also another story that we are seeing in the papers this morning. It means their constitutional mandate has not been violated, because for them to stage demonstrations, really sometimes I do understand that the laws are very clear that they must be guided, though by security. And that is one thing also which I must also inform people, because most of the times, if at all, you want to carry on protests, it should be guided. It shouldn't be you to just come up with placards, paint yourselves with noise, because all this will be used against you in the courts of law, and that is how you will be remanded also for times, and you will be charged also for cases, first of all, being public nuisance. And that is really something we must desist from. If at all we want to stage protests, then the protest should be guided by the laws and by security also in place. In another trio, we on Thursday granted bail includes Nora Kobusinje. We have Praise Akoelin Apology and Kemitoma Kenzibo, who were arrested near Parliament as they were attempting to march towards the Parliament nude in there. And that is something we did see, and they since denied the offense of common nuisance as slapped against them by the state in reference, that is to section of 148 subsection 1 of the Penal Code Act, to which they were charged. But today they are out, and they will be also moving also free in there after being granted bail in there. That also does not mean that they're already free. I believe they will be still answering those charges and allegations that will be coming also towards them in there. Now, while granting them bail, Kaizi held that also the offense against the trio is bailable, and that is why they were released on bail in there. Now, before they were held, the three brainless young adults, female protesters, who appeared totally also naked and their breasts painted with colors of Ugandan flag, held placards also really condemning corruption and demanding the resignation of the Speaker of the Parliament. That is right, Honorable Anita Mong. That's already some demand most young people have been making because of corruption allegations levied against her. And in most cases, people think, and people also allege that these people are being influenced by some people. And this is where we now expect these people who are also influencing these young people to come out and explain their motive of also influencing these young people. Now, closer to the Parliament, the demonstrators had been also had appealing for an audit over earnings also of the talent and lifestyle of the Ugandan lawmakers, as well as accountability from Kampala Capital Authority following the Chitezi incident that left many people also in problem, and where about 35 people were killed last month in there. And today we are also hearing stories of where over 100 children in the Chitezi land dumping site also have been left with no choice, because very soon this incident happened when the learners were actually returning back for holidays, as others were ready for holidays. But Monday we shall be seeing at least 100 children stranded. That story also will be coming shortly from now, but it's really something, I must say, very much sad indeed, where some of these learners lost their parents, lost their dear mother, their dear fathers to this incident. And now many of them have been left stranded with also no choice but of dropping. That means government should be able to also join hands and support these young learners, and to make sure that they get the necessary support when it comes to also really getting the necessary support in there. And that is one thing also where we expect now bursaries from government for these learners to also really continue with the education, because this is something that many of them didn't want. Many of them also didn't expect that also either. That means government can still offer a hand. Not only government, each and everybody with also the capacity can still be able to reach out the rescue of these young learners who are about to be left uneducated. That's because they lost their parents, and more that discussion will be coming later on. And yesterday, one of the biggest stories that also came out was also where President Museveni came out to also accuse National Unity Platform Party of vote rigging, where he said he has concrete evidence that in the last general elections, National Unity Platform Party rigged over 1,000 votes. And this is 4 years down the road. These allegations are now coming now. He says he has the evidence, but what kind of evidence does he have? And he actually came out to say that NUP is actually free to go to court and accuse him, if at all he is wrongly accusing them. But according to him, he has enough evidence, what he called concrete evidence, in relation to this vote rigging also by National Unity Platform Party. And the president already made the fresh allegations against the National Unity Platform Party, where he claimed that also the opposition party rigged, that is over 1,000 votes in the last general elections, where at least 1,000 votes are said to be rigged by the opposition party, which is actually the second biggest following the 2021 general elections in Uganda. Now, he was also speaking during a Thanksgiving service, that is for the late General Aronda Nyakairima, where Museveni also said that he has concrete evidence to support his claim, and NUP is free to challenge him in front of the courts of law in there. Now, former Chief of Defense Forces General Aronda Nyakairima was the Internal Affairs Minister when he suddenly passed away while on flight back home from a foreign trip also on September 12th of the year 2015. These are the years when, that was the year actually when we heard of the story of General Aronda Nyakairima dying as he was in a plane. What exactly happened to him remains unknown in there. And the president also explained that the alleged vote rigging was facilitated by the electoral agents at polling stations who failed to properly also really oversee the election process. And that is something we did see also in there. Now we acknowledge that election cheating is a widespread issue in Uganda's political landscape, with some politicians embracing fraudulent tactics to gain power in there. And that is something we did see the president, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, also already coming out to pin National Unity Platform Party of vote rigging. And according to him, the only way to eliminate electoral malpractices is through the introduction of electronic voting systems. But how efficient is that? Because in areas where we have seen this already happening, people have always come up with allegations. Let me give you an example with the US elections, where they were also already, where there was chance for online voting. What happened? People had allegations, people had issues, and that means we as Uganda, we will also likely have the same scenarios, same challenges in there. But how ready are we to embrace digital voting? Because I believe the paperwork may not be able to work. This is a traditional means of voting, and at the end of the day, I should say, it may not be working, but it's cool. It's quite good for us to embrace online voting. But how will this also impact on the rest of the voters who do not have the knowledge of digital computers and usage in there? Because this is entirely where people may be voting through internet. But how many people, more so the voters, have the capacity for online vote also already called for by the president, and that is something which we need to also really find out, because if you look at most of the population, how many people have the smartphones, and these are the voters. Look at the women, the vulnerable women within our communities, who in most cases are the voters, because I strongly believe the middle class hardly has time for voting, but they cannot influence on who to vote. But in most cases, people do not want to line. The middle class rarely wants to make lines, and this is also the one strategy I believe that will be able to attract them to voting, and that is one thing we did see happening. And according to him, that is also the one proposal, and the proposal of election also at polling stations where election voting machines also already malfunction should be suspended until the issue is resolved. Now, the president reflected on Uganda's troubled electoral history, highlighting that the country's election problems date back to 1960s, when the Uganda People's Congress also was at the center of alleged election vote rigging. And that is one thing also where we did see happening, where I'm so stressed that biometric verification through fingerprint identification is essential to ensuring free and fair elections, as no other person have identical fingerprints in there. Mr. Musoni also believes that the method will prevent voter impersonation and guarantee the integrity of the electoral process. And that is where I feel, as a country, we still need what we call the electoral reforms, where electoral commission also should be able to address some of these issues that are coming up, and to make sure that nobody is at least left out in there. Because if you look at these issues, then you realize that issues pertaining elections have often faced a number of challenges. But how do we address all these challenges? This is where I need to interest myself in, and I need to find out what exactly me and you can be able to do to ensure a transparent elections in there. Because if you look at 2026 general elections, we are just counting 15 months. And how ready are we as a country in these 15 months for the next general elections? Because given the environment we are seeing in place, it looks like we are likely to have a sense of election that is a bit chaotic. Because if you look at the environment surrounding also the next elections, you realize most of the people are now eyeing positions where the incumbents are also not ready to give up. The environment that we are currently seeing is that also we are seeing tensions, and this is one thing also which I feel electoral commission should be able to also address these issues before that time. Because if you look at 2026 general elections with the 15 months, today there are people who have spent millions and millions already just because they are already preparing. But how ready are we for also these elections? Because people are already spending, and that means there's one thing we should be able to expect at the end of the day: monetization of the elections. And this is sort of sometimes caused by the electorates themselves. Because if you look at the electorates, many of them are also really having the mindset that the person who gives them the most money is the one that they're going to be voting. But what does that impact on service delivery? These are questions that people leave out. Because if I give you money, let's say 50,000, at the end of the day, trust me, you are not going to be holding me accountable for the road. You are not going to be holding me accountable for lacking water in the area. That is one thing which I feel people should be able to sort of learn from. People should be able to sort of learn from these issues, that vote also monetization is something that is really very wrong, and we should be able to sort of address that issue and have solutions to that. Because if you look at all these issues, then you realize that also really a lot of people also are still selling their votes, not knowingly, because they feel politicians should be able to give them money. But that's entirely not a duty of a politician. And this is one thing which I also really expected the politicians to be telling the voters, that it's not my responsibility to buy food at your home. It is not my responsibility to pay your school fees. It is not my responsibility as a politician to pay your medical bills. It is not my responsibility as a politician to pay that accumulated loans that you have. It is not my mandate as a politician to make sure that your people are okay. If I do it, it has to be out of my will. And I do not have to be forced. But today you find with elections already today, there are some president people who call themselves as the bigwigs. They're already dragging the politicians to doing this. We have cases where politicians are being dragged and being requested to pay loans. And this is really quite embarrassing. And I feel people should be able to learn from that. That is not the mandate of the politicians to pay their loans. It's not the mandate. And if at all the politician if the politician A wants to do so, then it is supposed to be under the will of that politician to ensure that they do that. And that is one thing which at the end of the day I feel will be able to solely improve on the quality of leaders we are going to be voting. Because if at all we're not doing that, we are still going to be having leaders who will go to parliament, leaders who go to the councils and look for money and to recover the money that they spent in these elections. Just imagine a scenario where somebody is about to spend 1 billion before the elections. And that elections, how much money is this person going to be earning? These are things that we need to weigh. And given the money is solely that the parliament pays them, will it guarantee them that they will be able to require and maybe recover the 1 billion that they spent in elections after their tenure, the 5-year tenure in parliament or in the councils? This is where I feel people should be able to solely avoid themselves in terms of solely issues of monetization. And then this is where election commission should be able to solely come up and avoid these issues of vote rigging at the electoral process, and that would also make it possible for us to avoid certain of these issues. And that is where security will be able to improve. And that's what one of my calls. And I really feel the security leaders should be able to solely organize themselves ahead of 2006, because if you really paint the image, what we are seeing ahead is really disaster. People are going to be divided. People are going to be clashing. People are going to be fighting just because they will want to do whatever it takes for their camps to win. And I don't think if police is ready for this. Police alone, I don't think if they're ready for this alone. And this is where I feel the EPDF, the prisons, the LC1s, the other security agencies should work shoulder by shoulder to make sure that in 2006 we do not have very, very bad elections. We are counting down 15 months down the road. That's when we shall be having the next general elections. And yesterday, to also improve our security within the lower local councils, the office of the Resident City Commissioner Salim Komakech, together with the deputies and assistants, had an engagement with the lower local council leaders of Central Division, plus the other security support groups. If you look at the support groups, today you realize that also really very many of them are supporting the police in very many ways. And this is one thing which we called for, and we have also now seen the fruits. Because if you look at the recent days, Arua Central Division was ungovernable. Arua Central Division was unbearable. Where people feared to move with their phones. You move during broad daylight, people are grabbing your phones. People are running with your gadgets. People are running with your phones. You see somebody running with your handbag. And the community members are quiet. And that called for solely efforts from the community members to join hands. And now there's a group who call themselves advocacy group, who are doing really a tremendous job. Peace advocacy group, who are doing a tremendous job. And more of those are actually emerging to make sure that the criminals are actually eliminated. And that is one call that was given the LC1s, who also had a meeting with the RRCCs, that Central Division headquarters, which brought in a number of people. And this is one thing which I feel we cannot also leave out. We need to talk about these issues. We need to talk about security right from our lower local governments. Because if at all we're not embracing that, some of these LCs are actually said to be conniving with the criminals. And that is one call that was issued to them as a stern warning to avoid writing letters. But the LCs also came out to ask if at all for somebody to get bail, they have been required to write these letters. And that is why they have been writing the letters. But why do you write a letter referring and requesting for a criminal who has been terrorizing your people to be released? Look at these issues. Let's look at this scenario. Somebody is terrorizing your village, but you know that this is a son to so and so, just because you do not want to lose your elections, because the LC1 elections are set to be taking place also in the next coming months, because we need to see government extending for another 6 months. And these 6 months will be getting down. And this time around, we expect government to allocate resources for the election of the LC1s, because some of these LC1s have spent a lot of time in office with the stamps. Because we have LC1 chairpersons who have been into power since 1986. Up to date, they are still LC1 chairpersons with the stamps. What does that mean, and what does it impact on service delivery? It means this person is not going to be serving in the expectations of the people. And that means the person is not going to be serving like how he's expected to do so. And that is one thing which at the end of the day I feel we need to also talk about. Because looking at the LC1 chairpersons, they play a great role in also the local governments where they reside in terms of improving security. Because they are the first security personnel in the area. They are the first also the presidents of the area. and for them to connive with security agencies, quite absurd, quite embarrassing, and the councillors are not spared also of this accusation. Some of the councillors who have also really been conniving in releasing these criminals have been warned. And names were mentioned, and these are names whom I really thought shouldn't have also engaged themselves in this bad vice. But I wouldn't want to mention names, but names were mentioned. And some of these people actually hold crucial offices in their divisions, and that's really quite embarrassing and unexpected as well. And I really feel these are people who should change, and they should not do these crimes, because in the next times we shall be able to come and mention them, that they are the ones siding with the corruption and siding with criminality. Because when you talk about releasing somebody from prisons, going to also write letters to also have these persons released from the cells is corruption. Because we may think that the criminals are giving you money. And that is one thing which at the end of the day, the councillors, the LC1 chairpersons, the rest of the leaders, the mayors, the councillors, the mayors, the MPs, should not be able to engage themselves in. And because that is something which is also really jeopardizing the operation of security, they are jeopardizing security work if at all they engage themselves in that. And that is really where I want to sort of echo out the same message, that such politicians should be looked at with two eyes. And I want the good point, the community members, to start looking at these also people who are behind the release of these criminals with two eyes. Because somebody looking for property for more than 10 years, you come and just steal. Quite absurd and quite embarrassing. And that's where we're going to leave that discussion aside. And now let's jump into Kisoro, where the people of Kisoro yesterday again endorsed another Mateke daughter to replace the minister. That's another story that we are seeing in the past morning, and this is on the monitor, where the Kisoro District Council has recommended Ms. Ruth Nyirineza, a sister to the deceased, that's State Minister for Defense and Veteran Affairs, that is Sarah Mateke, as the most suitable candidate to replace her fallen sister as Kisoro Woman in Parliament. And this follows 2 days ago, where they had initially endorsed the sister, but now we are seeing them also changing to endorse the daughter as a replacement for the mother in there. That's something we didn't see happening. And remember, Mateke suffered a heart attack at her home in Kampala, and on Saturday morning was pronounced dead, and that is something we didn't see happening, where she died on. That's from Mengo Hospital, and this is something where we did see, according to elder brother Dr. Gideon Mugisha, they have now endorsed a new daughter, and who will be the candidate to challenge the rest who will emerge to also compete for that seat in the by-election in there. Now, the Bufumbira North Member of Parliament, John Kamara, also introduced Ms. Nyirineza on Wednesday during the Kisoro Council session to honor the late. That's Mateke at her ancestral home, that's in the Buge village in Chai sub-county, and that is something we did see happening in there where she was endorsed, and some of the council members also really had to pledge support and support also the endorsement, and that's something we did see happening. And the special district council session was presided over by the district council speaker, Mr. Amos Izmana, where the councillor also really endorsed a proposal to name the stadium under construction as Saza Grounds in Kisoro after the fallen state minister because of our dedication service to the people of Kisoro in there. And this is something that is happening, and we hope that this election will be going on peacefully. And the district councillors for Southern Division, Mr. James Agaba, the district vice chairperson, that is Ms. Diana Nakato, and then seconded the proposal. And that's something which we did see happening in the council, where they now also propose to have the daughter to have also the mother be the flag bearer, who will be able to solely replace the mother in the next by-elections, where they will be replacing Mateke, who died on last week in there. And now the council unanimously seconded the proposal and placed their support, that is towards the daughter. However, the Bufumbira MP, Dr. James Nsaba Butoro, asked his fellow leaders to hold discussions on who will replace the deceased minister until the mourning period is over, because we are mourning. I don't know the kind of trend we are taking in our politics today, where as family members are still mourning, we are seeing there are discussions on whoever will be the replacer. But is it the right time? Should we continue seeing the same scenarios happening? Because this is something we are seeing in most times when a leader in power dies, before the person even laid to rest, people already discussing on whoever is going to be a replacement or his replacement. But is it really right for us to continue seeing such scenarios such issues arise in our communities, but definitely I feel it is really, really wrong for us to continue witnessing and continue also the hearing of such scenarios. And I feel at the end of the day, that is also having its own impact on the mourning families. Because if you look at the bereaved family, in most cases, most of them are mourning family members who have also been supporting them in very, very many ways. Because you look at these ministers, you look at these members of parliament, many times they have so many dependents who really cling on to them and who really need their supports. And they are gone, people are still crying, people are wailing. You're coming up with topics on who is going to replace them. Really, I feel it's not right. And this is something we need to change in the trend of our politics. More so when it comes to by-elections, where leaders die when they're still in power. It's something we need to solely change. And at the end of the day, it is one thing that would be great. And this is really quite good. And that is one thing also where we are going to leave the discussion aside with. And we hope also really you pick at least something from that. And remember, over the weekend, also we are able to, this week, just on where, was it on Tuesday, we were able to solely see many leaders, more so from the Alliance National Transform Party, moving Terego for the burial of the late mother, that is of Cassiano Wadri, who was also really addressed and eulogized by the leaders as one person who raised good children. How are you raising your children? Because if you look at the children of this woman, the likes of Cassiano Wadri, you know that these are actually instrumental leaders. We are able to solely see leaders coming all the way from Kasese, the former leader of opposition in parliament, was actually in attendance in Terego. And this is one thing also which we feel should also be left out. And this mother also was eulogized as a person who raised good children with good character, and the example we are given were the children. That means today we need to also encourage our children to be good children in society, because by the time we are gone, then we shall be also be remembered as persons who did their part in terms of raising good children, because to raise a good child sometimes comes from the mothers, because the mothers are the ones who spend most times with the children. As a mother, if you are going to be painting a bad image of your father, of the father of the children, before the children, they're going to hate the children. If you're going to paint a bad image of the relatives before the children, they're going to hate the relatives, because children, in most cases, listen to you more than any other person. And that is where we feel as mothers, we should be able to be as good mothers, mothers who are going to be raising good children, because at the end of the day, that is one thing that we'll also really remember, we shall be remembered for, and we shall be also really understanding why we should be remembered as good children. That's where we are going to be leaving the discussion aside and moving on with the stories. So many stories going to happen, because it being Friday, I must say the excitement is always real, because many people are now heading towards the weekend, and they do understand this is actually going to be one of those interesting and the busy weekends for those in the West Nile sub-region, where a lot of things are going to be happening, where entertainment industries, so we're having big artists coming. But we're saying we should be able to spend these monies very well. For those who got the PDM money, we shouldn't also utilize this PDM money for going out to also have fun, because this money was not given for having fun. And that is one thing at the end of the day, we should be able to sort of pick a leaf from and use the monies very well. And let's leave that story aside. Kumi man killed over lava is another story that we are seeing, where Kumi man also has killed lava and currently is on the run. And that is one thing also which we feel we should be able to talk about. And that is where we should also be able to understand where Mr. Bakurum said the scene was visited by a team of police officers led by Superintendent of Police, that's Cosmas, the DPC Kumi, where a man has now been killed. And this is where we need to also talk about, because many times they realize that many of the people are into fornication, into adultery. And cheating has become the order of the day, where people are finding their lovers. This is not the very first time I should say that we are talking about such issues. Just last week, we were able to sort of talk about such similar story. And now another is also really happening. How do we address these issues? And how do we make sure that people do not also really engage in relationships also really with married people or people who are already engaged? And that is one thing which I think there is going to be sparing their lives. If at all you are into love, first ask. If you see a lady, if you see the lady looking beautiful, if you see the lady shining, if you see the lady looking lit, first ask, are you married? Are you engaged? Because somebody who is investing into this lady could be the one who solely will be coming to solely kill you in there. And that is one thing at the end of the day, I feel we must also really be able to solely talk about. And that is one thing also which we feel should be able to solely change. Because you talk about these issues of adultery, talk about fornication. Today, many people are into that. And how do we address these issues? But committing murder, is it the right way to go? These are issues that we need to solely understand. If at all you find your lover is cheating, feel free, go in and look for another person. And that is one thing also which I should be able to talk about the men, because many times we talk about women being more than men. What is the problem then? Why are men being killed over cheating? Or ever having relationship also with people who are married? These are issues that we are seeing happening in the country, Uganda today. That means we need to do something, and we need to find out if at all this woman I'm going to propose to is actually married or not married. Because at the end of the day, it is our lives that are going to be in danger, and I really feel that is one thing people should be able to sort of learn from, because if at all they're not learning from that, then we shall be seeing people be killed. We shall be seeing people be murdered, and that will not be very, very much well for them. And leaving that story aside, remember the coronation of also the Oyo, also for the 29th, is it the 29th anniversary? Also has been taking place, where recently the bishop also urged the king to get married. And that's another story we're seeing, where also the bishop told the king to get married, is another story that we are seeing right now. This is from the Rwenzori Bishop Ruben Kisembo, who on Thursday this week also already told King Omukama Oyo Nyimba Ikuru Osurukidi IV to find a queen, as the kingdom also is commemorated also the 29th also the coronation anniversary in the Fort Porto. Now during the Anglican service at St. John's Cathedral to mark the occasion, Bishop Kisembo summoned to the congregation included the 32-year-old monarch and his mother, that is Beske Migisha, hailed the royals and also urged the king to get married. And this is something that is happening in there, where we also thank the king, the queen, and the king also for doing a lot of things. Now this isn't the first time Bishop Kisembo has encouraged the Mukama to get married in there. And that is one thing also which we are seeing happening right now. And what is the reason for the king urging, for the bishop also urging the king to get married, is also something that remains unknown. And why the king is not getting married is already something that remains unknown. And this should also go to you as somebody out there. Do not rush into marriage. Because marriage sometimes is not easy. It is not also really a ground of resting. And that's why many people today are not married. And I really feel, let's find the right lovers. Look at what's happening. In most cases, within our areas, you see people getting married 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. Down the road, the marriage is normal. It means they're not ready. And that's where we are saying we should be able to find the right partners for our marriages. We should just not be able to get married because we have seen somebody is beautiful, somebody is handsome, somebody is wealthy. Those are not reasons for getting married. We should get married to the right people for the right causes. And that's where today I do not expect somebody to come and tell me, Faris, why are you not getting married? What are you waiting for? I'm waiting for the right partner. And that is the answer I'm going to be giving you out there, because if you look at the king, if at all he's not also married up to that age, it means there's a reason. He has the reason as to why he is not married up to now. And that means for you who is out there, because many times today we see our young girls getting married just because of pressure. They see the friend is getting married. They also feel they should get married, and they feel age is catching up with them. And that's how our sisters today are getting married. And that is where I should say it is really, really entirely wrong. We should desist from that tendency of getting married because of pressure. Because pressure will not be able to solely make sure that we get married to the right persons. And that is one thing also which I feel at the end of the day I will be able to solely improve on our marriages. We should get married to the right persons at the right time and the right place. And that is one thing also which we feel I should be able to sort of go to as an advice to somebody out there who is also watching us right now. But we are saying all in all, marriage is a reality and something we cannot also run away from. When the right time comes, definitely we shall be getting down and settled with the right persons. And that's where we feel we are going to be leaving the discussion aside with. And now to look at some of the stories happening elsewhere before that, but we need to also let you know about a brief background about the king. King Omukama Oyo was born, that's on April 16th of 1992, that is to Best Kemigisha, and the late Patrick David Matthew Kaboyo Olimi, and the third, and he actually is one of those persons who took the kingship at the youngest ages in there. And while also being in primary, in most cases, if our SST teachers used to ask us, who is the youngest king in Uganda? Our hands were always up. It is Omukama Rukidi, the fourth in there. And that is one thing also which we have always known. And we also wish him the very best as they are celebrating. And that's because of the Pope of Toro Kingdom. We are celebrating with you, and we hope these celebrations sorely will be coming again and again. And as for Western Sub-Region, definitely we are celebrating with the people of Toro, and the rest also of the people who joined also in celebrating that. And the 29th anniversary is also what we did see happening this week. And we hope also really this celebration sorely will be going on as also already planned in there. And Nakasongola police investigate disappearance of a 4-year-old baby. And that's what we are seeing right now, where police in Nakasongola district are investigating the disappearance of a 4-year-old from that's Kalongo sub-county. And Kalyango Trevor went missing. That's on September 10th. And according to some, Twinemiza, the Savannah Regional Police spokesperson, Kalyango was with his father, Kalyango Tom, in the garden, and he went also told his father that he was going to also home to drink water, and only never to return in there. And what happened the way? Could something have happened to him? Could he be abducted? These are issues that we need to also investigate, and we are leaving that entirely in the hands of police to find out where this young boy could be, and whoever could be keeping also this young person in that. As members of the public, I should also urge you now to also inform police if at all you see somebody has come to your area with a child that doesn't resemble them. You need to ask where this child is coming from. However, also when Trevor delayed, his father also really was forced to go and to check on where his son is, only to find out that his son was not in there, and the child went missing. And cases of missing children are common in the districts of Luero, Nakaseke, and Nakasongola. But who are responsible for these crimes of missing children in there? And March authorities in Nakaseke investigated the kidnapping of 8-year-old Patricia Ekolu, who also disappeared from Kasambia village in Ngoma Town Council. And Ekolu was also the primary one pupil at Ngoma Primary School of Uganda. And Ekolu was traveling to school when she was persuaded by a stranger to help also chicken. Allegedly, the stranger gave 2,000 shillings to boys accompanying also Ekolu before leading her to nearby jungle. And that is something we did see happening here. But that means we need to also talk to our children, because maybe talking about this scenario happening in Nakasongola, yet my sister, yet my brother, or our child in Maracha could be also a victim any time from now. Let's tell our children as they are walking to school, they should not be able to also be persuaded by persons in vehicles, persons on motorcycle, because these may be also the persons who want to abduct them. We take a short commercial break. This is the KOKOLIRIKO live show, and when we return in the second hour, we shall be also having more stories discussed in there. For now, we are taking this important quick breather. We are coming back shortly.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Bellingham, Vinicius Jr., Lamine Yamal, Antoine Griezmann. La Liga comes to Star Times.
A wild celebration!
The big stars, the tiki-taka football, Real Madrid and Barcelona live in your living room.
Real Madrid, a team of dreams!
Catch all 380 games live and in HD on Sports Premium Channel 259 and Channel 246 starting this August 15th. Subscribe to StarTimes Classic or Smart Bouquet at 36,000 Uganda shillings to enjoy the football experience affordably. StarTimes Football and limited passion.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, we are into our second half of the show. You're most welcome from wherever you're watching us from. In case you are just joining us right now, welcome aboard. We are just 4 minutes after 8 o'clock, and our final destination, of course, remains 9 o'clock. And as always, we want to also connect across all the different regions. And now, today, we are going to be connecting to the other side of Madisa region, and our correspondent, Okumu Dominic, will be giving us an update of what is happening in there in just some few minutes from now. And we hope also you will be able to inform them when they come to your areas of what continues to also happen in there, so that they can also be able to share this information with the rest of the country in there. We now connect to Kumu Dominic to also let us know what is happening in the Madisa region. Dominic, good morning.
Morning, Farid. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Yes. What is happening that side of the Madisa region?
Basically, there's nothing much here apart from the much anticipation of the Koboko-Yumbe-Moyo Road. So it brought some bit of anxiety among the public.
Okay.
Because the delay has been excessively long in terms of, if you look at when the groundbreaking ceremony was done, it was way back in May. And by now, the public actually expected actual work to begin on the Koboko-Yumbe-Moyo Road.
Okay.
But since then, the delay has been too much, and some people actually, the public keep saying maybe the government has forgotten about the people, and maybe, they are again trying to deceive people waiting for the time of elections. That is when again they will be getting back to start, covering up stuff here and there, which actually yesterday prompted some of the leadership of UNRWA together with the funder, that is World Bank, and then also the contractor. They were all on ground right here at Moyo People's Hall to try to actually, give the right information to the public about the construction work. And according to them, they're actually promising the actual work of the construction to at least start by October.
Okay. So what are the community members? What are the community members exactly saying about this project? Because at least I took time to move on this road, and I was not able to see any graders.
Yes, that is actually one thing that has actually caused a lot of fear among the public. They feel like, maybe whoever just came around tried to, bring the machines at the time of the groundbreaking was just a way of trying to cover up and trying to lie to the people again, because people have been suffering and the roads have been very bad, by the way, coupled with the fact that it has been raining heavily this side. So, the roads have really become so bad, and people feel like, I think they have been left out by the government.
Okay.
And then, according to what the UNRWA had to say and also the contractors had to say, they were relying on there's a document which actually relates with the environmental protection and stuff like that, which actually needed to first be cleared by NEMA. So under that component, it is actually the one that has tied down the contractor, but they say now that they're almost, the concluding side of, getting these papers. And then also most of the paperwork have been done. They're just left with one or two. And then also another issue as to why people don't see the machinery on road or maybe at site is because the contractor is looking for a campsite, because initially what they said is they want to have a main campsite in Yumbe district.
That's at Lokopio. What happened to the campsite that was supposed to be at Lokopio?
I think they have not finalized that issue yet. They are yet at the verge of, finalizing the deals of having the camp on the other side.
Okay.
Because now the contractor needed to at least be able to set up a camp where they will actually use it as a base for keeping the machineries and stuff like that, including some of the staff who will be also working on the road.
Okay.
And then also they said they wanted to have another main campsite this side of Moyo, so that once they start the work, it will just be like, starting it at the same time. There's no way that, maybe the work in Yumbe starts and then the one in Koboko and Moyo stops. No. What they want to do is they want to run all these programs concurrently. The one in Moyo keeps running, the one in Yumbe keeps running, and then the one in Koboko keeps running.
Okay.
Basing on the fact that a lot of time has been consumed in terms of the procurement, in terms of the documentation issues and stuff like that. That's why they actually said by, if all goes well, in October is when they want to start off with all this.
Okay.
And then they also had their own challenges, which they raised, mostly issues to do with the maram. They said actually the people have decided to hike the prices of the marams because they wanted to get it from the local community, and they said this was mostly realized in Yumbe and Koboko, where people have actually decided to go ahead to hike the prices of the maram. And this is going to make it a little bit difficult unless they can actually be in position and can be engaged so that they can be able to reduce, because if they don't reduce on the prices, meaning it will be very hard for them to continue with the work.
Okay.
So that is basically what they have to discuss.
Okay, maybe finally, the issue about the delayment of this project. UNRWA and the contractor are hopeful that by the end of September, they will be commencing with the works. What is the hope?
Yes.
And what is the hope of them finishing this work within the stipulated period of time?
Well, they actually said they were given the period for them to be able to work and also be able to complete this work. So they actually told the public they shouldn't fear about anything because they will still stick to that stipulated time and the work will still be done by that time.
Okay.
They said they are going to do whatever it takes to make sure that at least the work runs within the stipulated time frame, which actually they had agreed upon with UNRWA.
Okay.
So they said actually the delay came as a result of, the environmental protection documents, which they have been following, which is almost done. But then also, it also gave them the platform to at least do some, behind the scenes activities, which could also move them to gear towards, the work. And they said among some of those work they have been doing behind the scenes happened to be the issue of bringing all the consultants on board to make sure that at least, they have quality work and this work has to be done in the stipulated time frame.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe your final words?
Well, I think it has been long overdue, and we are expecting, because for us, as a layman, what you have to consider as, the project has started is when you get to see
the graders.
Machines, the graders on board. But I think one thing that I should actually recommend to them about for the past 2 days is that I've seen actually the contractor trying to do some forward maintenance, especially of the bad spots around the road, especially the ones from Moyo up to Yumbe. They're identifying some, bad spots where people usually face a lot of difficulties. They keep doing some bit of forward maintenance, trying to level it and making things move on a little bit smoothly. I think that could be another way of giving hope to the public that they are really on ground.
Okay. All right, thank you so much, Okumu Dominic, for that update from the Marisa region in there. And I hope you, as the viewer, knows that indeed these are challenges that are affecting our society, and we have to talk about them, and we are the ones to change. And the issues of people hiking the price of maram, this road is not going to be helping anybody, but helping us and our family also, and the people to come. And that means we shouldn't think about money first. We should think about service, and that is one thing also which will be my call for the ordinary persons who are in these districts who are hiking the price of maram. We are going to be stalling the project, and we are the ones going to be responsible for the stall of this project. And that's one thing at the end of the day I feel we should be able to talk about, because if you look at the issues of people hiking prices, that is really a great challenge. That is really sometimes where people feel it's an opportunity to make money. But look at the status of the road right now. It is really impassable and unmotorable, more so when it rains. We see vehicles getting stuck. It is still our service, it's still our movement, and service also, movement of service also that is still being hampered. It means service that's supposed to reach area A, because of the bad road, is not going to be reaching from area B. That means we need to do something. We need to support government when it comes to such developmental issues. We should not be putting money at first, and that will also make sure that government does its work as expected. And that also goes to government. Delayments in these projects also sometimes makes people lose trust. Because recently I was in Humbe district and the road, and I was able not to see any grader, and I was not able to see also any development whatsoever happening on this road. I was able to sort of ask myself, what happened? Now what about that ordinary person who was excited by the time of flagging the construction of this road by the Prime Minister? And months down, nothing. These are questions which I feel should be able to certainly be clear in the minds of people, and if government is to come and flag out some of these projects, it should be after finalizing each and every process, so that certainly it is marathon, work starts there and then we do the work within the stipulated period of time. And that is one thing also which at the end of the day will be making government realize the support from the masses, and the masses also will be having trust in certain projects also by the government in there. And that is one thing at the end of the day I feel I wouldn't talk about, because if you don't talk about it, then definitely we are going to be the ones also still be affected by this. Because if you look at the status of the road, it is indeed unmotorable. Today many people can hardly walk on these roads because the status in which they are is not also supportive in there. That is one reason as to why many people also find difficulty moving onto these roads. And that's where we are going to be leaving the discussion aside and now to look at some of the stories happening elsewhere. Remember, it being a Friday, many things happened in the due course of the week. I must say it was a busy week. And it's also going to be a busy weekend also as well, because if you look at the weekend, many stories are going to be happening. Many issues are going to be happening over the weekend. But all in all, I am saying we expect a lot. And that is where we are going to be seeing a lot of issues happening right over the weekend. And that is where we're going to leave the discussion aside with and look at some of the stories that continue to happen. We say we must make our country better. And to make our country better, it is my mandate to also do it with you. I'm not going to be doing that alone. And the leaders are not going to be doing that alone. We are going to be doing that hand in hand and together. And that's where we're going to be leaving that story aside. And now to look at some of the stories happening elsewhere. And this is Makerere University. Nawangwe warning letter sparks outrage among Makerere University students. And we are seeing the students of Makerere University clashing also with the Vice Chancellor in there. Now, warning letters from learners and also 9 guild leaders from Makerere University from the Vice Chancellor, Professor Barnabas Nawangwe, has sparked outrage from among the students, and Makerere University Guild President Vincent Lubega Nsamba condemned the letters, wondering why Nawangwe also really wrote the letters, and based on hearsay, to author dismissal, warning some members of his leadership without carrying out due diligence. And that is according to reply also from the Guild President, who also expressed dismay about this letter that was written by the Vice Chancellor to them. And now Professor Nawangwe early on Thursday admitted authorizing also the September 10th letters, which he said are also aimed at banning any legal meetings in Uganda's oldest university. And that means, according to them, they are not going to be allowing illegal meetings, and that's part of the letter solely written by Professor Nawangwe, suggests that his office had learned about internet anti-fees policy demonstrations planned through also the September 9th planning meeting, and that's something which we did see happening at 9 a.m., which was also organized by the leaders of the university. Recently, we were able to also see university students from Chambogo also expressing dismay over increment on fees. Are we expecting the same to Makerere University? Our eyes on the ground. We shall be able to come back and also inform you if there's any development in relation to that. And this is still a developing story. We don't know where it will end. But the warning also has been clear by the Vice Chancellor to the students, also more so through the guild leadership, to also desist from any illegal meetings in there. Now, in response, Nsamba also said the Vice Chancellor's threats provoke unrest among students at the public university. That means that the learners also are not ready to also listen to the warning that has been issued by the Vice Chancellor. Now we also know that you are advised to adhere to the policy guidelines regulating students also not to conduct, while also the university strictly failure to, at which may also further result in corrective action, up to including dismissal in there. And that is also really from what the guild also Vice also really Chancellor wrote also the guild also council. Now the guild says some of the people targeted with Professor Nawanga's letters will not come also for the meeting. Aside solely that Vice Chancellor did not also carry out thorough investigation. And now by police on Monday arrested already 13 Chambogo University students also for participating in a strike against a 50% increment on fees. But also that is something which we are seeing is likely to happen to also the Makerere University and built on environment and School of Management, and the entrepreneurship also learners also being also arrested, held in there. And that is one thing also which we need to talk about, because if you look at issues of fees increment, some of these learners could not be the ones paying their fees. But if at all you are to increase fees, then it should be clear. And there should be a reason to justify this fees increment. And tuition increment also is one cause that has been causing a lot of unrest in most of the public universities and also higher institutions of learning. And that's one thing also which at the end of the day should be able to be dealt with. And leaving that aside, government suspends Jaguar buses for 10 days. And that's the story we are seeing. And then for the travelers who have also been traveling using these buses, definitely they are going to be left also really helpless in there. Now Uganda's Ministry for Works and Transport also has suspended operations that's of Jaguar buses for at least 12 days, also really effective September 12th, and the decision also really follows a road crash involving one of their buses where 8 lives were also lost, and that is one thing which we did see happening. That was on Masaka Road, and today government also has come out to suspend the buses also from being on the road for a period of 10 days. What will this mean to the bus company? Money is going to be lost. Jobs are going to be at stake. And that is one thing also which is clear, and that means within these 10 days, this bus company is really going to be doing a lot. But that also goes to the bus company and the rest of the bus companies to also really avoid tendencies of drivers who are not going to be minding of road accidents. Because if you look at this bus company, according to also really what we had, the accident was actually caused as a result of overspeeding by the bus driver, who then lost control and rammed into another car. And that is where we lost many people in there. And at the end of the day, we have now seen the operations of the bus company being suspended in the country for 10 days. And now since September 1st, police have been hunting for a Jaguar bus driver blamed for the accident until he appeared also with the wounded arm at the Transport Ministry also on Wednesday to plead on behalf of the company also with routes connecting Kampala to Rwanda, Burundi and DR Congo. And that's where we did see also the man also appearing to plead on behalf of the bus company. And meanwhile, the government also issued a 7-day ultimatum, that is to Gateway Bus Company, to produce the bus driver of one of their buses. And they say the driver was captured in a viral social media video as he was overtaking also a vehicle from a wrong point along the Kisoro Road. That is one thing also which I feel at the end of the day will be making these bus drivers, first of all, very serious on the roads, because they are really playing with the lives of innocent people. Just imagine 10 persons confirmed dead in a road crash. If at all we lose many of those at the end of the month, in the year, many people are being lost. Then that means that these bus companies should be, first of all, retooled. then strict warnings also should be given to them as well. Because you will find sometimes these accidents are actually caused because the drivers are tired or the drivers want to hurry and come back. Yet the laws are clear. The bus drivers need to have enough rest after these long journeys. But sometimes you see a bus driver comes from Kampala, comes to Arua, connects to Yumbe. Again tomorrow, the same driver is in the same bus, heading back. Why don't we then expect accidents? Why don't we then expect people's lives being lost? It means having stringent measures like Ministry of Transport and Works is taking. I'm totally in support of this. And I want to support and also commend Ministry of Works and Transport for this initiative, because we are tired of losing our people. And also we do not know when, at the end of the day, we shall be able to lose our lives, because we are part of this. We travel by these buses day in, day out. We on the roads. It means we need to do something when it comes to these issues. At the end of the day, this is where we are going to be also expecting justice. Also for those who have lost their lives. And that is where we have also seen the same warning being issued, that's to Gateway Bus Company. And we expect these drivers to be brought before book at the end of the day. Because if at all they're not brought before book, then definitely that is where we are likely to see many of these bus drivers who are also out there not adhering to the call of also traffic guidelines. Because if at all government traffic guidelines are very clear, to drive a bus, I believe there's a thorough check. These are people who qualify. These are people who have gone through a lot of training. But for us to also see them in such accident causes, then it's quite embarrassing, it's quite absurd, and we are saying we do not want to see many of that happening. And now to finalize this hour with, and finally 5 more cities to become operational. That is by next year, according to information we are receiving from Ministry of Finance. And now the government also has finally approved the creation of 5 more cities slated to even also to become in operation. That is also in addition to the already existing. And now the 10th Parliament also on April 28th of 2020 approved the creation of 15 cities to become operational on July 1st, but only 10 were operationalized. And already also in operations are Rua City, we have Mbale, we have Soroti, Hoima, Masaka and Barara City, and Jinja, among others. And we are going to be also expecting more operational. This is the question also somebody could be asking himself out there. Are we ready also for these cities? Do we need these cities as well? This is a question solely we should be able to talk about. And once operational, the 5 cities also will bring the total of cities, that including Kampala, that's 16. And this is where we shall be seeing Uganda having 16 cities. And now the new cities will be operational on the 1st of next year. And these include, among others, Wakiso, Entebbe, Kabale, Moroto, and Nakasongola, who will be the new cities under the new creations. And that's something which we are seeing. But if you look at Wakiso, this is actually a city where I really felt we need to look into, because this is the city that surrounds Kampala. And where will this put Kampala at? If we also make Wakiso now to become a city of its own, and I believe NASA now also will be now a city under Wakiso, and that's where we shall be seeing NASA becoming the biggest town under Wakiso. But are we ready for all this? Looking at Entebbe, which is also under Wakiso still in there, and this is where we like to also have issues. But are we ready for all this? To have these areas that have been mentioned as cities, and this is where entirely I leave the discussion into your hands to also really share your thoughts, share your opinions into also the issues that we are discussing this morning in there. And critics, however, have also previously spoken against the creation of the new cities, saying it leads to creation of more administrative units and constituencies which are a burden to the taxpayer in there. Because if you look at all these cities that are being created, the taxpayer will also have to fund them and also fund the operations, and that's where critics have always raised issues. Do we think we need these cities? Do we think we don't need them? It's entirely a debate. I'm leaving entirely in your hands. You can share your thoughts on our comment sections. For those of you watching us via Facebook, feel free to drop a comment in there. I will be in position to also go through it. For those of you watching us via YouTube as well, I also really highly welcome your comments, and I will be also digesting also that, and that's where we shall be summarizing this half of the show tonight with, and that's where we are saying this morning as we are heading on with the discussions, you can still utilize our various social media feedback netting platforms to share your thoughts, share your opinions on what we are discussing this morning. And now the criticism also has been that the leader of opposition parliament, the then leader of opposition parliament, Matthias Mpuga, wanted the creation of new cities and said it was an excuse of failed devolution. And today we are seeing that also happening. However, State Minister for Finance Planning, Mr. Amos Lugolobi, defended the creation of the new cities, saying the uplifting of remote towns like Nakasongola is for strategic reasons. Another chairperson of Uganda Local Government Association, Mr. Richard Rabuhinga, urged the central government to allocate more resources to the new cities. And this is where we are going to be seeing money needed for the operations of these new cities. At the end of the day, we are going to be seeing the taxpayers crying the most. And this is where we also must share our thoughts on this issue of the creation of the new cities. And now the mayor of Entebbe Municipality, Mr. Fabrice Ruhilinda, welcomed the development and saying that the urban authority has for long been ready for a city status. And that is where we are now going to be seeing Entebbe Municipality and our Wakiso becoming a new city. And that is where many people are also going to be saying we come from a city, but are we seeing impact of the cities that are already operational? Have they measured to the status of the cities? Let's judge. Looking at Masaka, looking at Arua City, looking at Mbarara, have they measured to the expectations? Are they already to the level of maybe, let's say, a city? Looking at these different cities that were mentioned, I will also be able to mention in there, and many others that were created, because already 10 are operational, and 5 more are going to be created. And that means Uganda will have 16 capital cities. And Kampala, of course, will remain the biggest. But are we ready? Have we measured enough to the expectations of these cities? Let's measure using the ones that are already in place. Have they delivered to the expectations? Have they also maybe changed anything? Or it is just the names that changed? Looking at Arua City, looking at Soroti, Marara, Masaka, and many others that were created. Have they measured to the level of a city? That is where we need to also really ask ourselves before we create more. And that is where entirely I will be leaving the discussion into your hands. You will be the judges for this morning, and I will be coming shortly to also really check through if at all we can be able to really measure to those issues in there. Because if you look at these cities, many people continue to share divergent opinions, and of which we do not also take them for granted. We are taking a short commercial break. When we return back, we shall be summarizing today's discussions with, of course, not forgetting the world of sports. And I will be touching on something small in what's happening at the international level. We come back shortly.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Vinicius Jr., Lamine Yamal, Antoine Griezmann. La Liga comes to Star Times.
A wild celebration!
The big big stars, the tiki-taka football, Real Madrid and Barcelona live in your living room.
Real Madrid, a team of dreams!
Catch all 380 games live and in HD on Sports Premium Channel 259 and Channel 246 starting this August 15th. Subscribe to StarTimes Classic or Smart Bouquet at 36,000 Uganda shillings to enjoy the football experience affordably. StarTimes Football and limited passion.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, welcome back into our final half of today's discussions, and our final destination, of course, remains 9 o'clock. And this is where we are going to be discussing a lot of issues, and it might being a weekend, we are going to be seeing also a lot of events happening as well. And one, of course, I cannot leave out is the cleaning that will be carried on by the 73rd Parliament Group, a group that has been also championing in also mobilizing security members to also do good in the society, and I will be with them tomorrow as we clean Arua City. And this is one thing which I feel I cannot leave out as we get move on with the show, and that is one reminder that also you too can still be part of that, and that will be going through tomorrow. And this is for the youth, and we want to see youth becoming agents of change, and this is exactly why we shall be with them tomorrow. And this is one thing also at the end of the day, I will be also with them in there. And leaving that aside, the Russian farm to open digital outlet also centers at Uganda borders is another story that finally we are seeing this morning, where the Russian farm intelligent transport monitoring system is set to also open additional outlet, also digital outlet centers at Malaba, Mutukula, in a bid to accelerate installation of global positioning. That system also trackers in all public and private vehicles, motorcycles, and water vessels entering the country, according to information from the authorities in there. Now, the development also follows a 10-year contract for the service between the government and also the farm, and that's where we are going to be seeing the ITMS Communications Chief, Galina Svalona, also working in this country to also ensure that at least out of the 47,000 government vehicles, over 10,000 number plates have been already digitized, with additionally also 2,000 number plates also equipped with trackers as of September 12 of this year in there. Now, but Slovenia also say that there is an ample time, also that is to extend with the operation at Malaba, and also that Mutukula border points as a move that is to expedite the installation process also on private vehicles also in there. And that is one thing which we did see happening, as statistics from the Uganda Works Ministry indicate that by the end of 2022, there were approximately that 1.8 million government vehicles and private vehicles in the country as well. And Uganda had 1.1 million motorcycles and 6,325 vehicles in other categories. And the installation also, therefore, is an exercise that is set to begin by 1st of November 2023, but several car owners have embraced the drive. And that is one information that we did receive in there. And we hope also you are ready for this. And as a vehicle owner, how ready are you for the digital upgrade? Because first of all, sometimes it also gives a provision for the installation of digital tracker. You're not going to be worried of where your vehicle is going to be stolen. You will be rest assured that with a digital tracker, at the end of the day, you will be able to recover your vehicle once it's stolen. And we did see also that happening where Nikita Snovev, production director, that's at ITMS, say they have already also produced more than 25,000 number plates already for private vehicles, and they will be making more as also they continue with the drive-in. That's due to determined demand, and they hope the new vehicles and motorcycle owners will be required to pay shilling 74,000 for new number plates, while exchanging existing ones will cost them 150,000. That's for motorcycles, for vehicle owners, and 50,000, sorry, for the vehicles also to be paid as official data shows in there. This is quite cheap, and sorry, many people now will have to embrace this, and that will also make it very, very much good for them to also embrace that in there. That's one thing at the end of the day I feel people should be able to solely embrace this, because these cars sometimes enter through these border points. You look at Malaba and Mutukula, this is where we see many people solely entering, most from Kenya and also from Tanzania in there. Many of the goods also from that side enter from there, and our cars as well enter from there in most times in there. And that is where to have these digital number plates be placed at these entry points, it's quite important, because somebody will be getting this right away from there, and they will be required to also move and really stress as they're in this country, and maybe as they're already in the other parts of the country, in terms of also making sure that they get these numbers. But we are saying all in all, we have to embrace it. It may be a good cause, it may be a bad one, but we are saying we have to embrace it for our security, because if you look at the digital trackers, today we have had stories of people losing their cars. And where do the cars find themselves? In the DRC, in South Sudan, and I believe such digital trackers could actually help trace where these vehicles are going. And at the end of the day, that would also be quite good for them to also really make sure that people get the necessary support also for their vehicles, and security also must be guaranteed. And this is where we're going to be leaving that discussion aside with. And now we're getting close to the weekend, and over the weekend as well, we are going to be seeing our learners returning back to school for the third term holiday, from the third term holidays in there for the third term, where on Monday says to begin. For day schools, Monday is when they're going to be returning, but for the boarding schools, starting Saturday, starting tomorrow, we are likely to see the learners returning. But in Chitezi, about 100 school children are about to be left stranded following the disaster that happened in there. About 100 school-going children were victims of the Chitezi landfill garbage collapse that killed at least 35 people, and others are still missing, with statistics now showing that basic fees and necessities for these children are actually not there. And what will this mean for these vulnerable children that were left without support? And according to Red Cross, majority of the children whose families were devastated by the West, including us some candidates, are likely to miss that term, which starts on September 16th, which is on Monday, and that means many are going to be left out. And this means we need to join hands. For those who are in there, we should extend support, such that also these children can be able to go back for their children third term in there. And that's where we did see also really Omala emphasizing the items that also really are that proposal are insufficient compared to the needy also really following the garbage collapse. And that means we need to also join hands to also really extend support to these children in there. Now, some survivor parent Susan Nyamiyinga appealed to us for help, that's to purchase scholastic materials and overcome the fees burden for the 3 children who are also in there. Now, according to her, they have not been also able to also have the way forward on how their children will be returning back to school. According to information from government, they have not also been able to be engaged. And earlier, Relief and Disaster Minister Lilian Aber also told journalists also that government has already discussed anything related to also to fees support. That is for the victims in there. That means these children are going to be remaining vulnerable as per now, because if you look at the vulnerability bit of it, many of them are not going to be having the necessary support in terms of school fees, in terms of scholastic materials, because once learners are turning back to school like this, you find they have to engage in so many activities, and that would also make sure that they get the necessary support they want. And that is where we did see joint medical stores donating items worth 10 million Ugandan shillings, including soap, sanitary also wear, medicine, nutrition food, and blankets, following also that incident. And many people have also as well extended support, but we are now saying the support should be rechanneled towards education of these the children, and that's where we also need to see how these 100 children about to return back to school And those who are already stranded should be able to get the support. Because if they do not get the support right now, then definitely they wouldn't also go to school with support in there. And that's where we feel the support now needs to be also really channeled towards education of these young children, because children who are vulnerable right now, if we educate them in the next coming years, they will be standing up on their own. They wouldn't also wish to see such scenarios happening. And this is where we are likely to see children who are going to be experts in terms of also garbage management, because they do understand the pain of garbage. And really sensitizing and also really educating these children, to me, I will do a great service to make sure that these children also get the necessary support they deserve in there. Leaving that story aside, 42,000 Amuri learners failed to complete primary education cycle. Another story that we are seeing right now in the papers, that this is on the monitor, where at least 42,342 learners who joined primary school in 2017 will not complete primary education cycle this year, according to report. That is from Amuru District Education Department. And the report also noted that the district registered about 46,000 learners from 51 government-aided schools, and these include the primary and private secondary schools. However, also as this year, only 3,645 learners have registered for the primary living education. What happened to the rest? What happened to the rest who were registered out of the 46,000 learners who were also registered in both the primary government-aided and also private-aided schools? What happened? Out of these who have registered, we are seeing a total of that is 2,109 candidates, as 1,549 are girls. The number indicates that indeed more girls are not finishing the cycle. What happens? This is where we need to solely engage and find answers. For instance, on issues of early pregnancy, early marriages. These are issues where the parents now need to go back and also sit down with their learners and sit down with their children and also talk to them about issues of young, or what we call early pregnancies, and that will also enable them to also complete with their education cycle. And that's where we did see Mr. Michael Lokoni, the Amuru District Chairperson, already said while releasing the mock examinations, that's from Lacho Primary School, that's only on Monday, and that's also there are burdens also in the district that we need to rapidly analyze as policy makers and as leaders. As teachers, we do something, and Mr. Lokoni also told teachers, high teachers, and also some district executive officers grappling also with education, also poor attitudes towards education as a challenge, hampering the process of education in the area. And now statistics only from antenatal care services from the 14 health facilities reveal that 1,289 teenage girls under the age of 18 attended also the first antenatal care service, while 5,035 mothers aged 20 years and above attended the same services in May this year. It means most of our learners are failing to also finish the cycle. It means there's something that needs to be done in Amuru to also make sure that the numbers of people finishing education cycle must also increase at the end of the day, because we need to ensure that the learners finish the education, because if they do not finish the education cycle, then we are likely to see people also dropping in there. And out of these teenage girls we tested and confirmed HIV also positive, we are 61, aged above 20 years, and we also look at where also the virus is in the same period where 706 girls we also delivered from health facilities, while 2,688 from the age of 18 above we also delivered from the different health facilities. It means there is something that needs to be done to also address this concern in Amuru in there, and the same also that is happening in Amuru could be happening also elsewhere in there. It means at the end of the day, there must be also something done to address also this issue in there. And this is where also teen mothers worry solely. That's also where we're seeing the teenagers solely early on the issues of early marriages among the teenagers also should be a point of worry, because they realize most of our girls are getting pregnant just because they do not know what they are doing, and people are taking advantage of them to also have sex with them, and that's where they see themselves pregnant. It means issues of sexual education right from our homes should be something we should be able to embark on as families. Let's sit down with our girls. Let's tell them about the dangers of early sex. Let's tell them about the dangers of early marriages. Let's warn them on the possible dangers of early pregnancy. So we keep them in schools, and as parents, we should be able to make sure that we talk to them about these issues, and that will also, at the end of the day, make sure that people in the line will also address these issues, and that is where we are saying people should be learning lessons from what is happening elsewhere to also address these issues, and that is where I feel I need to also warn the girls about, because if we're not warning the girls, then that will be very, very much bad for them to also engage in these practices, and that practices also which I feel are very much wrong. That is where parents sit down with your children, warn them on the possible outcomes of these vices I was able to mention, because let's keep the girls in schools. To educate a girl child, really, you have educated the whole community, because it is the girls who are always within the community members, also within the communities, who understand the problems also really of what is happening within the society. It means we should be able to sort of join hands and support them at the right times in there, and that would be quite well for members of the community to sort of embark on a move. First of all, to educate the learners, and also really make sure that we raise a good community, because if you move in the areas, you find a child carrying a child, because the mother of this child is not an adult. Very wrong, and you see how they are struggling to also really take care of the child. It is really quite absurd and quite embarrassing. It means we need to also do something as family members. We need to also do something to ensure that our children do not get caught up in this act of that's early pregnancy, and that will also, at the end of the day, make sure that they are not also really taken advantage of. And to summarize the entire discussions, All Saints Cathedral Nakasero is set for grand opening, is another story we are seeing, and in a major milestone for the Anglican community, the long-anticipated All Saints Cathedral is set to officially open its door after 13 years of construction. Now the multi-billion shillings project, which began in 2011, has also been a focal point for religious expansion in Kampala, with the cathedral designed to accommodate now a growing congregation of 500 worshippers, and the cathedral, which includes 4 chapels, offices, and a 45-meter bell tower, is finally nearing completion, and thanks to the collective efforts of the Anglican Church for the generous contributions. That means the church is now going to be open, and this project is estimated to have also costed over shillings 26 billion, with fundraising campaign also ongoing since early 2009 to cover the construction and furnishing expenses. And according to Archbishop of Uganda, Dr. Stephen Kazima Mugalu, who is also the Bishop of the Kampala Diocese, the church needs a ceiling that is close to 6 billion for full completion, particularly for what we call the exterior, and already also consuming 18 billion. And that's something also which we are now expecting the Christians to also further extend hand to this good cause of the Lord. Because in most times we say as believers, for us to buy heaven, we have to buy it by doing good. And that means we need to also extend hand to support such initiatives. And that will also, at the end of the day, make us go in the right places. And that is one thing also which I feel at the end of the day, the Christian community out there should be able to support, so that nobody does not live supporting also church activities. And now the church journey began over a century ago, and in 1912, during a colonial era, when the initial structure also was erected to serve a much smaller community. As the congregation slowly expanded over the years, the need of a larger and modern facility became evident. That is also for the people also in there to also have this church. And now the new constructed facility not only offers worship places also, but also includes office of the Bishop of Kampala Diocese, and the parish also a 2-level underground parking for chapels, also a coffee center and library, reflecting also the church's commitment also to integrate faith and also participate needs also to the community in there. That means we need to also support such initiatives, and that is where the Christian community also will be excited about this development, and we hope this development also will be able to also impact not only on the Anglican community, but the entire Christian community of the country in there. And that's one thing also which there are also faith-based institutions and also other religious institutions also should be learning from, that development is actually something very, very much good. Today I'm very happy about what we are seeing in Arua City, more so amongst the Muslim community, who are doing enough to also change the narrative of also not church depending on church and mosque entirely depending on offertory, but today we are seeing them putting up structures, just like the Muslim community, just like the Christian community. The Muslim community is actually developing the Islamic also complex, what we call the Rashad Business Complex and also the Mosque Center, which also really today we are seeing it stalling. It means the Muslim community today on this Jummah should be able to donate for that cause and should be able to expand and also extend a hand towards that noble cause of having this project. Because as Muslims, if at all you do not also support this cause if it stalls, definitely people are not going to be happy about it. But once it's complete, people want to pray in nice mosques and people want to pray under cool air. It means with this mosque, if at all people support it, then it's going to be quite a blessing. And that means we need to support the officer of the district card, or that's of Sheikh Abu Jafar, and also the leaders to make sure that this vision is actually realized. And that means more of the projects should be done by the religious institutions, and so that solely the church and the mosque does not entirely depend on handouts, also really from the congregation in there. That's where they will be able to generate money just from also really these projects. And that's where we're going to be doing a discussion aside with. And now to summarize also really with also other stories, why Uganda needs own defense solutions. In another story we're seeing where the Minister of Defense and Veteran Affairs, Jacob Oboth, has said the country's growing need for self-reliance in defense production is actually very critical. In an interview with also the journalists, Oboth highlighted the enhancing Uganda's capacity to locally manufacture artillery and other defense equipment is essential for both national and regional security. And he identified as several enterprises managed by the National Enterprise Corporation, abbreviated as NEC, which is under the Uganda Defense Forces, as key players in this ambitious plan. And that is also really where he said historically Uganda's army, like African nations, has relied also really heavily on foreign supplies for defense needs, but also now today with the initiative of establishing their own facility and also really developing their own artillery. According to the defense minister, this is going to be a solution also to also address over-dependence on support also from the European world and also of other foreign countries. And that's something we are seeing. Now, dependence has created a vulnerability, particularly during global geopolitical tensions on crisis, which has already left many people very much dependent in there. Now, both stress the reducing reliance on foreign weapons suppliers will also mitigate this risk and ensure Uganda always has necessary tools to protect its sovereignty. And that's according to information we are receiving from the Minister of Defense, Jacob Oboth. And local production offers greater control over the quality and quantity and timely delivery of defense supplies, ensuring that the military is always adequately equipped. And that's according to information we are also receiving in there. And we hope with the establishment today we are having, because if you look at the UPDF factory, we have one in Nakasongo that is also doing a tremendous job. And that's why today Uganda People's Defense Forces, first of all, is putting a lot of emphasis on sciences, then secondly on innovations, because if you look at innovations today, most of the soldiers that are being recruited are actually required to be scientists, or either if not scientists, but try to also be people who can innovate. And that's why today we are saying, if at all you want to join the army, you who is going to school on Monday, you must make sure that you concentrate on sciences, because if at all you do not concentrate on sciences, by the time of recruitment, you will be left out. And that's where you will also start lamenting on why you were dropped. It means you have to do something. You must join hands to also really make sure that you give a lot of time for sciences in schools, and that will also really make sure that you, at the end of the day, is also not somebody who is going to be left out. And that's where we are going to be leading the discussion on our side with. And now to summarize the entire discussion with what's happening in the world of sports, so many stories going to also unfold in there, where the clubs also really very busy in the market, also really now trying to also really make sure they secure the signatures on the players also whom they are going to be also really getting also really to play for them in the coming season. And remember, this will be beginning today with the mouth-watering clash that is between KC and URA Football Club. And now talking about URA Football Club, they have already secured also a lot of signatures, and this is only for the campaign also beginning today in there. And one of the names that I really feel it should also not be able to lay out is the player in the names of where they have also seen a player also securing the signatures, and many of the clubs also have as well secured signatures of players whom they are going to be also playing for them. And looking at Express Football Club, they of course secured the signature of Rashid Kawa Olu, formerly from Royal Hill Football Club, who also joined their camp in there. And they also secured the signature of Redback. That is Mustafa Kiza in there. And that is one thing also which I feel is also really where we are going to be seeing a better and a much bigger league ahead of tournament, also really at the return of the season in there. And Express as well signed many players, and AC Villa as well signed many players. URA was also busy in the market, where they were also able to secure signatures. So Bright Vuni, also a former player of UPDF and Rahil, and many players also already as well were secured in there. And that's where we're going to be seeing a bigger league ahead of that's the 2025 signature, and we hope we are going to be seeing a better league. And today, after here, I want to say I will be interesting myself to see how today's games will be ending, and it's going to be also really a busy weekend also really for other leagues as well. More details into what's happening in the world of sports I will be coming from 2 to 3 p.m. Owen Ezaga with Linda Susie will be here. From me to you, I want to say have a good day and a good weekend as well. Up next is the News Bulletin Lubarati, and thereafter we shall be having the Lubar Mabimba program. That is with Riku Morris, and thereafter Islamic Hour also will be coming for spiritual nourishment. It means for those Muslim community out there, you are not left out. The Islamic Hour also will be coming where a sheikh is expected to also come out and preach to you. It means all these programs are to make sure that each and everybody is catered for. And really with that, I want to come to the end of discussions. My name is Farish Majid. I will be here again on Monday. Have a good day and a good weekend as well. Bye-bye.